All right, let's do it.
Yeah, let's go. So, welcome to the Lunchtime Podcast. Who's on Deck, Episode 3 with Dave Gerson. Happy to have you here, Dave. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
What's up, Dave?
So Dave is the Assistant Athletic Director at Temple University. And Dave, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you kind of got into that role? Like, what got you started in athletics in general? You were talking a little bit before about how you kind of ran track in high school, played some sports maybe. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my my path to where I am now is certainly not a typical one, and it all begins with some pretty simple fanhood. So most people who know me, including his nay, have known me as a fanatic Temple fan. It's run in my blood. My dad went there. I have other family members who, in some capacity, attended Temple or became fans of their sports. And so, growing up, it was instilled in me. My dad was a season ticket holder, and so I found myself even at the worst of seasons going to games, and we took pride in our fanhood. Even when Temple was not so good, we'd stay through entire games, and it all originated there. So my fanhood slowly grew to where I ended up actually creating my own website. I ran a great deal of social media, just maybe 13, 14, 15 years old. Um,
Oh,
and
that's
I,
right. I forgot you
yeah.
had that empire.
So
Alified.
yeah. So what happened was I originally I thought that I wanted to get into like sports journalism. So I started messing around with an old digital camera, and similar to what you see on ESPN, I would just create little videos with facts about who Temple football was playing and how they performed in their last game and what to expect in recruiting and whatnot. So it started all with that. I was really able to cultivate a following from that, and this is all in leisure time. It wasn't eating up a lot of other things like school and social life. But I was really able to cultivate a following, which turned into, like I said, an entire website. I was able to make a great deal of connections, and I had hundreds of people looking at my content. And long story short, that landed me a number of connections around not just the football team, but the athletics department and some administration. So they were aware of me. Um, I only applied to Temple. It's exactly where I wanted to go, and I had a unique experience in that they sort of recruited me to work for the football program. So I had to make a decision because I knew too much with my site. I either was on the inside or was on the outside. So I decided to work as a student manager, and I'm very happy I did that because from there I just worked my way around different facets of the operation as an undergrad. Expressed my interest going forward as I realized that I wanted to go into more of a business administrative role down the line. That I was able to express that I wanted to go into football operations as a graduate assistant, and the way things worked out, I was very fortunate to get hired full time by Jeff Collins, who's now the head coach at Georgia Tech. After Coach Rule graciously kept me on, who's now at the Panthers, as a graduate assistant. And then from there, with Coach Carey from Northern Illinois coming in, I was fortunate to stay on in a full time capacity and gear my title back towards where I'd like to go, which is football operations. So, absolutely not your typical means of working your way up the ranks. I'm extremely humbled by it, and I love to look back and certainly thank and stay proud of a 13-year-old dweeb who is just figuring out a compact laptop and a webcam, and getting me to where I am now. So that's really the shorter version of it.
So you were
Love it.
you were
Love
owlified
it.
at quite an early age. It sounds like.
I was that so Alified, where that comes from. That's pretty much every username alias that you can for any social media login. That's what I use. Like every account name, whatever it may be, it's Alified. And so when I was a kid and I was posting my content, I would push a lot of this stuff across message boards, and I needed to create a username. So I, again, 12-year-old kid in me thinks, what's something cool? And I turned like being a Temple fan into like a verb, like you've been owlified almost. So that was the start of it. And then it stuck to where even to this day, I'm 27 and there's individuals who knew me 14, 15 years ago who still refer to me as owlified. So it's holding on strong.
Who is Stella the owl? Is it a real owl? Like, I don't even know this.
Yeah. So we have
How
a
long do
family.
owls live? I don't know. And do you know about owls since you've been owlified?
You know, I should probably. I've got nothing but time right now, right? I should brush up on that. But so our temple's mascot is the owls, and so Hooter is the name of the like the not the live mascot, but the costumed mascot. And just a couple of
Legend,
years
legend,
ago,
great name.
athletics decided to bring in because it's fairly common for major schools to have a live mascot. Like Auburn's got their eagle, Georgia's got their bulldog, etc. So Temple actually has a partnership with the Elmwood Park Zoo, which is not about 40 minutes outside of the city. And so we were able to partner up with them, and now Stella, who is like the star of the zoo, is known as our live mascot now that attends all of our home football games.
Wow. Wow, that's pretty cool. That's a cool story. I'm surprised it's not in the Philly Zoo.
Listen, I selfishly wish it was. We've had a number of community service events where in my mind, I thought I was just going a couple minutes up the street up Girard, and in turn, I had a 45-minute drive to Norristown. But
Yeah, you can't
regardless, it's
bike
really
there.
cool. You can't bike there. You can't bike there. But it's a really neat zoo up there. They've got a great variety of animals and stuff, and we're definitely happy to have Stella on our side. It's worth the drive.
That's cool. That's cool. That's a cool story. I didn't know that. I never knew there was a live owl.
Mhm.
So I know obviously like you're hanging out a little bit for the summer. Can you talk to us a little bit about what it's like to be in season, what that means to you, not necessarily as a player, but someone who's in that atmosphere and obviously has an obligation to the team. What's that like?
Well, it's really fun for me to discuss because a casual fan of sports really only knows Saturdays, right? When you think of in season, you
Yeah.
think of game day, and that's or leading up to game day. And the fascinating thing about what I do is that there's an entire year that leads up to those 12, 13 Saturdays. There's a great deal of day-to-day things that are implemented outside of just playing football that all play a role in our ability to show up on Saturday and win. So the fall is a completely different beast than the spring, than the summer, etc., because we are in season. Basically, what you find with that is you finish out the spring in for us in May, and then you pretty much have some downtime for the current team where they're briefly done with school, they get some time at home, and then slowly but surely you trickle back into your voluntary activities and whatnot. Before you know it, bam, you're in July, into August, training camp, a month goes by and you're in the season. So the fall for us is a great deal, certainly, of preparation with the returning, leading up that spring before and is preparation with the returning guys, acclimating the incoming because you've got some mid-year guys who trickle in the spring through the summer and are part of the team into the fall. You've got the entire academic component of it. So we've got our guys are in classes, they have practice from 8 to noon, and then they've got their coursework, tutoring, advising, and whatnot beyond that from after noon on the rest of the day. And then we've got all kinds of other ordeals going on. Like I run our community service. So we've got community service going on. You've got, specifically your practice. Guys have time for treatment and stuff. So it's if you can't tell, it's very busy. So
Yeah,
all of those
clearly.
things play a role into leading up to your Thursday, Friday, Saturday, where there's a whole schedule in place for, your day-to-day practices and then whether you're traveling or not. So it's cool. I have a unique role in a lot of the logistical elements of those things that go on, but those are all the things and some that go on strictly in the fall. in season.
What do you like? Obviously Temple's, well, maybe not obviously for everyone, but like we know Temple's coming back in the fall. Everyone's going to be on campus. Hopefully, it's business as usual. What do you like for your job? What are you looking forward to the most? Is it like the swag, the tickets, the travel? Like what do you see as the best perk of your job that's coming up this fall?
Well, let me preface anything I say with a luxury that I feel that I have is that it's seldom that I view this as a job. How often can people work for their favorite team? Like I get excited and I'm thankful to be able to say that. So just all in all, it never feels like a job. But the best part about the experience that I have, honestly, is the interaction with the guys day to day. I have a lot of fun getting to know these guys over 4 or 5 years. We've got some awesome personalities. You learn a lot about not just yourself, but others. And the fact of the matter is, you spend a lot of time with these guys every day. And we've gone from seeing each other every day to, you know, just seeing each other at times once or twice a week through
Mm.
Zoom. So I think the personal interaction is one of the things that I'm looking forward to the most. I've kept myself pretty occupied and active during this with work and also just being outside socially, keeping up with family and friends. So for me, it's not a matter of getting excited to get back into the swing because I think I'll transition back. But more than anything else, it's seeing people, being able to interact, safely with them, and slowly but surely getting back into our grind of August, which is training camp.
So Dave, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I think we met. I came down to Philly when was that his name? Four
You were
Yeah.
four
there
months
when
ago now.
Boozer was there. We were playing corner.
Yeah, we were playing.
And
But I was gonna say I didn't recognize you without the visor on. I just pictured you. I pictured you as being a big visor guy. So it
Well,
took me a second to register.
I definitely associate with the visor. Most people know me by that. I've got a pretty extensive collection of them. But if you see the
Is
length of
that
my
is that
hair.
is being a visor guy a personality?
No, you know what? It's an acquired taste, that's for sure.
Sure.
Because not everyone can even rock a visor. Like
Facts.
with this hair, I wouldn't even bother. I'd look like a fool.
Mm.
But when I got a shorter, a crew cut, I actually, if you can believe it, I usually have like a faux hawk, so it's pretty short, and I can wear a visor with that. But right now, like guys, I am a prime example of someone who's desperate for for a
Yeah,
haircut.
I need to wear a hat, otherwise I'm like all over the place.
Prime's got this cornbread. I don't know where that came from. This bird's nest on his head.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do. I got a couple baby sparrows nesting.
I don't think any of us are visor guys. Any of us, even
I don't know. Dave's the only visor guy that I know, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
I don't think there was
There aren't
anyone
many
in
of us.
college.
I know
Yeah.
a Kyle that's a visor guy. I feel like most Kyles might be visor guys, and then
I feel like a lot of your visor demographics are around colleges, whether it's college coaches, like college golfers, people that hang around colleges, I guess. I don't know. I feel like college is a big visor spot.
I'd say athletics, like football, definitely. You see a lot of them on the sidelines, but all in all, believe it or not, I used to be a hat guy. I used to wear flat brim and snapback hats, and then I took a hiatus from any sort of headwear. And then I just remember at some point being given a Temple visor. I tried it on and I liked it, and then I got very superstitious about it. So for a long time, I would wear it backwards during games the entire time, and that
Oh
seemed to
yeah.
work well. But if we were in a troubled spot in the game, I would turn, like if we were struggling, I would turn and have it facing forward. And we had a game, it might have been 2 years ago now, where we were, I think we were at Maryland. We were 0-2 going into the Maryland game. And this was last year. I apologize. And I was like, no, I'm sorry, it was 2 years ago. I'm losing track because it was down there. My buddy was in the hospital. Everything was going wrong. I turned it forward, and we ended up like really playing a solid game from there on out. Changed the course of the year, and from there on, I was like, I will from now on wear my visor forward. And
Yeah,
so
every sport's
that's
got
just
those. The rally cap in baseball. Is there one for basketball, Harrison? Like you know how in baseball you have the rally cap and
Maybe
other like superstitious.
pulling up your socks. I don't know.
Do you like wear the same pair of like socks every time you run a like 20,000-mile race?
I do actually. Yeah, I have this sick pair of like quarter inch or 3/4 inch. They're red, white, and blue. They were for the Olympics in 2016. They're actually sick socks. I'll let me see if I can pull up a picture.
I feel like visors are like a sign of maturity in the hat department. Like I feel like if you're wearing flat brim, like I still wear flat brims, so clearly I'm not the most
My
mature.
head just looks weird.
But yeah, on me it just looks weird. I feel like though, like maybe in a few years, like it'll look a little bit better. Like I'll maybe get a haircut, outside of quarantine. Like you said, I don't think this mop is gonna look good in a visor. So, but
visors are like they're like diet hats.
They're diet hats.
Diet hats.
That's good.
They're definitely.
The diet.
I definitely think you're cut from a different cloth if you wear visors. I'm willing to admit
for
that
sure.
I'm different.
You're more likely to end up on like a TMZ headline one day for like.
I'm jealous. It's a big golf. It's a big golf thing to wear a visor.
Yeah, for sure.
I need to get that. I need to get into visors. I'm gonna try soon.
So I know you obviously. So your favorite team. I missed the first like 10-15 minutes. But obviously, so you've been a lifelong Temple fan. I remember that from when we were talking. I know they're the Owls, right? If you could change Temple's mascot or color scheme, would you? And what would you change it to?
So I wouldn't change the color scheme, meaning like so our primary school colors are cherry and white. I wouldn't change them. The cherry it's different. It looks a lot like Alabama's crimson, but you can tell there's like it's a little more like pink almost, or like a lighter cherry. But I think that like being at a school like that has a unique color, that's a cool advantage to have. What I would do is I would probably add a tertiary color. I would add like black and make that like an official color of the school.
Like the Seahawks and the neon green?
Yeah, like I wouldn't want something that's like a fluorescent that just sticks out like a sore thumb. But I think that black,
like the Seahawks in their highlighter jerseys.
Well, I'm saying, but it's funny because I like them. I do. I
really
just don't like and it's a long story with the Seattle teams. I am partial to a lot of the color rush neon type stuff, but like that's why I think our cherry is so cool because it just sticks out like a sore thumb when you're decked out in it. But all in all, I think it's cool. I think black would complement, tie into a lot of what we do. We do some stuff with like charcoal sometimes too, or like a gray.
Color.
But I would add rather than change. I would just add to what we have.
Yeah, I feel like matte. Is it matte or matte?
Matte.
Like the matte charcoal or like steel gray helmets are always cool looking. I feel like Oregon always whips those out.
By the way, did you guys see what his name, the socks his name posted?
I'm just choosing not to click on
he's
the
running. He's running around like Captain America over here. You guys got.
They're cool socks. They're cool socks.
So everyone's got to have a nice pair of socks.
Love them.
Did you go to any Temple UCF basketball games?
This
past season, Dave?
This past season,
I think there was one in like November. I know there was one in December. His name said you definitely weren't at because I think it was New Year's.
It was New Year's
or something like that.
Yeah,
those were together. But there was another one in November.
I'd have to double check because the cool thing about what we do is there is a little bit of a crossover period where football and basketball are going on at the same time. So trust me, I get to as many basketball games at home as I can. I live close enough that many times I walk up there, take the subway back. But there are instances where we're on the road and they're on the road, and like I can still watch them. So I'd have to see specifically when they played.
I'll ask you a more memorable question because Taco Fall was on UCF last year, so I think you would have remembered seeing a 7'5" dude. Just I don't know if he dominated that game. I have no idea what the stats were, but I feel like you probably would have remembered that.
Yeah, I think everybody at this point knows Taco.
Yeah, yeah, for
Especially
sure.
because he's
Taco.
holding on with the Celtics. But yeah, I think that he was a unique specimen. So he's not a fast guy, but he's the tallest dude out there. So he barely has to move for a board. But I remember like playing against a guy like that, like is a challenge, but it's more about not losing track of the other guys, in my opinion, amidst having a guy that can just stand straight up and grab the rim.
Yeah. I'm telling you, if those big guys if they learned to become like ball distributors, they could change.
That's what
There's
makes
two of
Jokic
them.
so special.
There's nothing they can't
Yeah,
do.
Dave,
true.
Dave, I heard you like the NBA a lot, so I'm assuming you know Nikola Jokic.
Of course.
Never
That's
heard of
what
Of
him.
makes
course.
that's what makes
Even
him.
his guy knows who that
Are
is.
you kidding me?
Did
No,
you guys see the
you know,
pictures of him recently?
No.
he's looking
No,
thin. He's looking thin.
is he?
Yeah,
Well, didn't he say he used to drink like a liter of Coke a day?
yeah, he's down to half a liter.
Down to half a liter. That's
Oh
improvement.
yeah, this guy, dude. He's thick, big boy.
Oh, this guy.
Not
He's
Yeah,
like
anymore.
he's like 2 gallons of milk, peaches and
he's
cream.
He's the best
yeah,
pass rusher I think I've ever seen
he's a
at
force.
the
He's a
center
force.
at the center position. I won't put him over LeBron.
He's like that weirdly athletic, chunky kid that
That's
Well,
a good
is
way.
like good.
That's a
Is like really good at everything.
Yeah.
he was, but you got to take a look and see like the photos that came out of him like yesterday, today, because he has gotten into ridiculous shape like
Wow.
since the NBA season was halted. So
Wow.
if
He
you look
found
up his before and after, it's like it's crazy.
Western
he
Conference.
found
and
he
title.
found he found vegetables.
Or
They
he
don't have
couldn't get
those in like
access to snacks.
they don't. I don't think. I think they only have like meat, potatoes, and vodka in like Serbia, where he's from.
Well,
So
the quarantine's making it difficult to get the simplest of items anyway. So maybe his favorite
True.
snacks are out of stock.
True.
Did they make the cut? Are the Nuggets gonna?
They're in they're in like third or fourth in the West.
Yeah, they're good.
I never know what to make of them. Like sometimes like they're hot, they're cold. I feel like they're always up there, but they're never quite. You never know if they're gonna actually be really good.
His name. We compared them to Ditto when we did the Pokemon comparisons because we just felt like they just like can play every style, but they're not going to be the best at any style. If that makes sense, like they can
They play to their competition.
Yeah, they play to their competition, which makes them win. They win a lot of games, but I feel like it's just not going to get them anywhere in the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll see.
No idea.
It's like the Sixers. Speaking of NBA, did you guys talk about the Sixers yet?
Oh no, we could go there. We have a really good hot plate for the Sixers.
Say it, shoot it.
All right,
Yeah, spit it out.
So we got one of the hot plates this week, Dave. If you had to keep one, Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons, who do you keep and why?
So based on body of work, I am keeping Joel Embiid, and don't get me wrong, I love Ben Simmons. I just think that while it's a dying breed, Joel is arguably the most dominant player at his position, and while he's a liability at times, or while he's injury prone at times, the effect that he has when he is on the court is unmatched. He is literally the difference for this team between winning and losing games. You can't necessarily say that about Ben. Now, I think that Joel could be even more dominant than he is if he plays as a back to the basket five. If he's down in the paint more often, he's a facilitator more than he is standing on the 3-point line, pick and pop. Like, I will take a chance with a guy like Joel in a shorter time frame if we can build properly around him versus having an elongated time with the uncertainty of Ben Simmons developing the jump shot. That is a big head scratcher for me that I can't look past.
Guys, can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah.
All right, because my Wi-Fi did the same thing again that it just did. So
Dude, my internet's been so shitty today.
Dude, it's the weather.
Is it like a 5G conspiracy?
I don't know.
They're intentionally sunsetting all your shitty 4G Wi-Fi so that they can sell you 5G and give you like cancer.
I mean, Apple would.
Do you have any insights on that?
Apple would do that, but all right. So we're gonna cut that, or Harrison.
Otherwise, they'll be
got?
after me.
That was a really good take, and I want to follow up on
No,
this.
no. That's it. Yeah, I got most of it. But I was gonna say about Ben Simmons. What do you think about this comparison? 09 Rondo, but better than 09 Rondo, but the same type of player. And Byam hates that because he probably loves.
Well, no, but wait, whoa. I can still love the
That
Celtics
facial-
and hate the Sixers,
that
but
expression
like,
that
but
was
struggle. I don't think Rondo and Ben Simmons they're just too.
I feel like they're
I
very
feel
similar.
I feel like Ben Simmons is a way better athlete.
Yeah,
So
a better Rajon Rondo.
so so the only reason why I would say entertain that comparison is because yes, Ben Simmons is flat out better than him. But
You don't have to.
I would
you don't have
say
to like
I
it.
would say
You could disagree.
no. I mean, I think me personally, I think it's insulting to Ben Simmons. But here's the thing: I won't deny that Rondo was past tense was a great facilitator. He was a prolific
sure.
passer, and he was a solid ball handler too. But Rondo has nothing on Ben Simmons defensively, and like you said, athletically. It's not even like Ben
Rondo was a great defender actually back in those days, back in 09.
but I
and 10.
but I wouldn't call Rondo, even personally, I would not put him in a top 3 defensive player of the year. I'm willing to do that with Ben.
Not
The guy
right
averages 2 steals a game. Like
Yeah,
Ben
he
is
has
a
the most
completely
steals in the
different
league.
specimen.
he's
a completely
he's
different
also like
specimen.
6 inches taller than Rondo. Terrible comparison. Sorry, it's just
Yeah, no, but from a point guard perspective, like when you
casting
peel those
and not
characteristics,
being able to shoot.
I think that I just Ben's ceiling is certainly way higher than Rondo's would ever be. But there are certainly things that I wish, like Rondo's more willing to take an open jump shot certainly than Ben is, and I wish
Now
that
he is,
that
but
was
he
the
wasn't
case.
always. It took him a while.
Is Simmons still dating that Kardashian chick? Wasn't he with like one of them for a while?
Jenners, one of the
Jenner, one of them.
Jenner.
Someone in that family. They're like a curse, aren't they? Wasn't Courtney or Chloe or one of them with like Lamar Odom? And then all of a sudden he started like doing crack and like when the dude was traveling with the team. My favorite, speaking of the NBA, whenever we talk about the NBA, I always default to the Stephen A. Smith clip when he's talking about Lamar. I forget who he's ranting about, but he's like, and they brought in Lamar Odom, who was on crack.
Yeah.
That's my favorite Stephen A. Quote. But yeah, no, Sixers. I'm interested to see what's going to happen. NBA is July 21st, right? So we still got another month and a half.
What's your thoughts on Tobias Harris?
I'm sort of mixed about Tobias. My personal opinion is, I think that he is a max level player? No, but the nature of the business, the way that the market works, like he was you had to offer it.
Right,
like I wanted the Sixers to tell him, explore your options, come back with your best offer, and like we will at least match it, because I don't know necessarily if he was going to get the max deal, but if he did, then at least you justify it some more. All in all, I think he fits more. He fits more in like a 3-4 role. I like him being a stretch more certainly than I do Al Horford. But I just wish he was consistent. I don't even care personally. Based on the money, we need him to put, max level numbers out. But I care more about just like being consistent. More than anything else with him would be just shooting. We need him to shoot better.
He plays the most minutes, or he played this past season the most minutes out of anybody in the NBA per game. Why?
That's ridiculous.
I did not even expect that when I saw that. But yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from there, for sure.
I also took a look at some stats for this hot plate. But one really interesting thing that I came across, Ben Simmons versus Embiid, 7.8 rebounds per game versus 11.8. How many of those do you
That's a
think
small gap.
how many of those rebounds per game do you think Embiid has that are offensive boards? Out of 11.8.
I would guess 3. I have no idea what the answer is.
I'm willing to bet that it's only 2 or 3 because he plays on the arc too much. He's not even down there to rebound.
Dude, you know where I'm going. He only averages 2.8 offensive boards per game.
He was pretty darn close, Harrison.
But
That's
not terrible though.
It's not, but think about having someone like Joel Embiid just there catching boards.
He's not Andre Drummond, right? Like he's doing so much more than just getting rebounds. Like Dave said, like on the perimeter, like taking like
Andre Drummond fucking sucks.
Andre Drummond, yeah.
He's the biggest bust,
don't even compare them.
Biggest bust in UConn history.
I'm not comparing them at all, but Andre Drummond, what he does is grabs 15 boards a game, but can't do anything else.
I think
Gerson loves comparing Sixers superstars to washed up scrubs.
No, I'm not.
I think if Brett Brown was smart, he would be putting
Drummond's not
Joel under the board every single time just to scoop everything up and fake that little move that he's got and keep drawing fouls when he's trying to put them up.
We need more shooters. I think that I agree with Joel being on the block. I just think they need more solidified shooting to force the defenders out on the arc. Whether it's an offensive rebound, but I understand why they do it, but I think that we do it, the pick and pop, pick and roll, too much because he just flashes to the arc.
Was that shot by Kawhi Leonard where does that rank in worst moments of your entire life? Because if I was a Sixers fan, I would have literally, I don't know what I would have done, honestly.
So, for me, that's like, it's historic, certainly, even on the Sixers side because of how shocking it was. But I'll never forget, like for all the wrong reasons, I'll never forget where I was when I watched it. But when it literally first happened, I was pacing back and forth in my apartment, waiting for the inbound because I believe they had an advance after Jimmy scored. They were up at half court, so I remember pacing back and forth. It's going to Kawhi. Bottom line, the ball's in his hands. But watching it happen in real time, like your heart sank. But I think replaying it reminded me how like that shot was such a once in a lifetime shot. The way it practically defied the laws of physics to where like it was defended extremely well. Like Joel, he had the tallest dude contesting. Like I wish they would have played differently on the inbound. But bottom line, like it is hard to get mad at anybody. That was an incredible shot that just went in. And so I'm at a point now where it sucks, but like I can respect how great of a moment that was. It tore your heart out when it happened.
Harrison, what's the most gut-wrenching sports memory you can think of besides every season for the Jets?
Every season for the Knicks, Jets, Mets, and Rangers.
No, like is there one thing you can think of?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I was at the 2006. I think what was I 12 years old at the time or 11 years old.
12 years, 3 months, 6 days, 5 minutes is when my world changed forever.
NLCS Game 7. I was at the game. I'm a Mets fan. I was at Shea Stadium. It was called at the time.
Wow.
And they were playing the Cardinals. And Andy Chavez, he's on the Mets, robs. Yeah, I think Yadier Molina hits what would have been a home run, and he robs it over the wall to save us 2 runs. And then Scott Rowland in the 9th inning of that game, or the 8th inning, I forget when it was, hits another home run to put them up by, I think, 1 run. And Carlos Beltran is up at the plate, bases loaded, bottom of the 9th, needs a single to put the Mets into the World Series, probably win the World Series that year. I forget who won that. Or the Cardinals won that year. I forget who they played, but they won in like 4 or 5 games. It was just a joke. The Mets had the best team that year, and Beltran went down looking at a ball that was literally right down the middle.
I
Dave's
remember
nodding his
that.
head like he remembers that. That
Wow.
I was literally in, if you could imagine, just tears just
What a
flowing
bum.
down my face as an 11-year-old Mets fan, and we've never been really close since then to winning a championship. Besides, I guess 15, but that's the worst moment of my entire life for in terms of sports.
I can
That's pretty
assure you,
vivid.
I do remember that because those instances where a team like the Mets do get there, it's hard to forget because it doesn't happen all that often, you
Never.
know. So I totally remember when they were there because I think it was the only time they've been there since I've been alive.
Yeah, it's not like the Knicks. I have any gut wrenching stories. Like we've never been close to winning.
Yeah, is you got to get into a big game to experience big emotions.
I guess the most gut wrenching thing that ever happened was when Jeremy Lin stopped scoring 30 a game. And we were like, oh, I guess this is
Linsanity,
So
TBT.
you said that you're a Jets fan, a Knicks fan, and a Mets fan.
yeah, my life.
You are that guy that I talk about to everybody. Like I feel really bad. Like I commend you for being prideful in that because it's not easy, you
I'm
know.
not that prideful.
A lesser man would be shameful. I
Yeah,
don't think
He's
you're
willing.
I'm
ashamed.
a Giants fan.
He's
Oh,
willing
ew,
to acknowledge that
I'd
he's a
rather go
fan.
down. I'd rather go down as like
Going down
a
with my shit.
prideful Jets fan than be a Giants fan.
The Jets went through one after the Bart Scott year where he said can't wait when they went to play the Steelers, and I think they missed, like, if I remember correctly, like they missed like a 50-yard field goal to make the Super Bowl.
The butt
I
fumble.
wasn't at that game, so it was a little different. But I remember throwing a remote or something like that. I get intense when the Jets.
Mine was the David Tyree catch in that Super Bowl.
Fuck you though. You have 6 Super Bowls.
Yeah, but like in my lifetime, I saw the one in 2000, like when I was like 4, or no, I was 6. I'm trying to do the math in my head. But then
94 was a good year.
But then the one with the Giants, when it wasn't so much that it was a Giants, it was that just everyone was like a Giants fan. So that was brutal. And that's like it's one of those plays. A catch off a helmet happens once in the Super Bowl, happens once every 50 years.
I don't
So
think I heard that guy's name before that happened.
David Tyree,
I think I heard it since. So
he could get a great, like, if he just came out of retirement, or not out of retirement, if he just showed up to like some company and wanted to like be in their new ad campaign for like a hard helmet company or something. I don't know. That he could have some ideas there.
Well, if the podcast doesn't take off, then I think you definitely have a promising career in advertising.
From that sample.
Yeah, good pitch by him.
So real quick, Dave, back to Temple, because we went off the rails a little bit there. But I was curious about what's going on in terms of, I know Hisney said that that Temple was going to be, as of now, back in session in the fall. What's going on with everything, with your job, with the sports department at Temple in terms of planning around this season with COVID and everything that's happening? How is that affecting what's going on?
Well, I mean, it's from a very macro level. It's thrown a wrench in anything and everything we know forward that we'd be able to safely go about a sense of normalcy and return to campus, return to training. So we have been very, very patient with it. I know Temple is doing any and all diligence necessary in making sure that we take our time, doing it the right way, the safe way, because the priority, we understand, is absolutely not to play. It's the health and safety of the students and the staff, everybody essentially. So it's changed drastically how we operate right now. Like I said, pretty much all of our meetings, all of our communications are through Zoom and GroupMe for the foreseeable future. But as we get closer, and you see Pennsylvania, for example, goes from the red phase into the yellow phase, hopefully sooner rather than later the green phase, it gives you an idea of sorts as to when you could see a return back. Maybe our guys at least are back into a voluntary workout regimen in mid-June.
Have they been
Hopefully,
have they been like working out on their own? Like, do you guys have like some sort of like home workout plans that you give them or anything like that? Maybe not you personally, but just in general.
well, before we do anything, we just make sure that it falls within university compliance. So, in instances where we've been permitted by legislation to go ahead and provide workouts, we have. Otherwise, our guys have done a really nice job and made it a bit of a competition, just doing their own home workouts, improvising on different equipment and stuff. And our guys share it amongst each other just to create some competition and keep people active and all. So amidst all this, guys are preparing, and we remind the guys, first and foremost, to be to take care of themselves, stay on top of things academically, and just be prepared, because things could switch in the blink of an eye. So I know, all in all, just like everywhere else around the country, day to day, you're assessing numbers and the feedback you're getting from the powers that be above, university and government wide. And then from there, we make our decisions. So we are hopeful, like I said, to see voluntary workouts, which are clear to resume, to have our guys slowly trickle on the campus over the course of this month. And, I think most people would agree that if we're able to rev things up, July in anticipation for a normal August training camp, we'd be in pretty good shape. But we're not in a rush to do any of that. First and foremost, like I said, is doing it the right way, so where you don't have to shut it down, because that could be detrimental. So I know there's a lot of very intricate logistics that are being discussed, as we try and map out the proper way of returning to play.
What are you missing right now in Philly the most? And I want to break this down in two categories: cheesesteaks and bars, restaurants, and other places.
So I have to pick one for each.
Yeah, one for each. Who's got the best steak? What are you craving right now, man?
I mean, I'm absolutely always craving my favorite, but there's others I know I'm really fiending for. My favorite, the number one cheesesteak, is John's roast pork. And a lot of people are going to want to say Del Sandro's. That's completely fair.
Everyone has their own, obviously.
I would just say that I trust my ability to rate, because I've been to 30 or 40 different spots. So I would say John's roast pork for sure on the cheesesteak side. With bars, as you know, I'm very much partial to McGillen's, and so I miss it dearly. I miss the people there.
You're a local legend at McGillen's, from what I remember.
I do.
Did we go there?
That establishment?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, we did. That's right. Yeah.
At the Patty's Pub.
No, Patty's Pub's in Old City. It's not really called Patty's Pub.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was asking.
His name. Are you a regular at that bar yet?
Yeah, but there's a couple bartenders that know my name, which is cool.
Oh,
which is cool. But this whole COVID
good
messed me up. It messed up my schedule. I would go Tuesdays and Thursdays. That was my spot.
Just call him to chat. Say, hey, it's Alex. Checking in.
How you doing?
You keeping that keg of Lagunitas cold for me?
I wish they had Lagunitas. I'd never leave.
Skills are fast.
That's what I do with McGillen's. I've built up enough rapport there that I know a handful of the bodyguards. I know the manager, and sometimes and bartenders, waitresses. I'll text certain people and be like, "Hey, how is it? Like, is it overly packed or what?" Sometimes they reach out to me and say, "Where have you been?" Like, so it would be McGillen's on the bar side for sure.
I need to get something like that going when we get back into the city.
I don't know. I feel like you can't have if you're in Manhattan, you can't have like a regular spot, or if you go to the same spot like every day too often, you'll just be broke. You gotta
yeah, you can't go.
Well, you can't go to like Murray Hill, but there's spots like.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. In little probably hole in the wall places, if you establish yourself.
Dude, yeah. that was the biggest thing for me. Like moving from the New York area to Philly was, I mean, you can get a Miller High Life for like $3, 3.50
Woo!
at a lot of bars on like Friday at 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock. Like even concourse, like a Bud Light's like $5. I don't know. Concourse is like a club. Like concourse is in at a place in New York. I feel like that would cost at least 10, if not like 12 or more.
So since we're talking about perks of Philly, can we introduce Dave to the segment we usually do, which is like something that it's called, since our podcast is lunch themed, we call it Portobello Veggie Wrap. Like when you get lunch catering and there's the sandwiches and then there's the veggie wraps that nobody wants. So we have a segment where we talk about like a gripe. And so we had the idea that we wanted to make this week's Philly theme. So
it's a Philly veggie cheese.
I think his name, you had a good one when I was reviewing our outline. So I'll let you go first.
Oh, my Philly veggie cheese steak.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know if is
veggie cheese steak. That's a good one.
It's just such a contradiction. Yeah, so this happened to me last week. I was picking up food, and Dave, do you know Circle's Thai on 2nd Street?
Second and what? Do you know?
It's up above Fairmount, like a block or two. I forget what it's in between.
Circle Thai. Any relation to Ovular Tim?
No. Anyway, it's this really good Thai place. It's kind of like my go-to for Thai food. Kirby likes it. I'm sitting there outside, like mask on, enjoying the afternoon, and this guy comes out of the door in the building next door to Circles, and they're doing some construction on it. And he comes up with like 2 things of cardboard, and he literally just throws them on the ground and kicks them into the street. Meanwhile, like I look to my right, I see this massive stack of cardboard from the restaurant that's like clearly going to be recycled, and this guy just kicks his cardboard into the street, in the middle of the street. So my Philly veggie cheesesteak this week just goes to general stupid littering. Like just look to your left and put it in the recycling pile. Like, come on, dude. It's not
or people who don't break down boxes.
Dude, that's why New York is such a mess, man. Nobody.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, that's my veggie.
So that's just idiots in Philly, I guess. But there's idiots in every city.
No, come on. There's idiots in come on, Phil knows who those guys are who aren't breaking down their boxes, man.
I know.
So
Gerson, did you have one?
Yeah, mine it's not, I guess it's not like I have only been in Philly like a few times, so trying to make this Philly theme. Mine, it's not like, I guess, the biggest pet peeve in the world, but it annoys me when I see it, is when people take pictures at the Rocky Steps, like just like being like in Philly, like at the Rocky Steps. I don't know. I feel like it's just
you must have a bad experience.
Well, the backstory of that is, and I'm not going to mention any names, but there's a dude that we all know from Lehigh that that did a video. He made a video of him running around Philly and like running up the Rocky Steps with the Rocky theme music. And after seeing that, it just kind of tormented me.
Just ruined it for you.
So it sounds like you just have a personal grudge.
Until 2 years ago when I saw that video, or whatever that was last year. It was fine until then, and once I saw that, I was like, oh, every other picture.
Everyone else, it's dead to me.
It's void. Yeah. So.
What about you, Dave? You got a veggie wrap or a veggie cheesesteak?
There's probably, I really have like 2, maybe 3 that come to mind. I just encounter it all the time. But one would easily be the traffic on I-76.
Yes,
it just doesn't make any sense. It's just always, it's a bottleneck, but it's always backed up. It's never a good idea to go that way. It's never a good idea to come home that way. Like anything, you want to go to King of Prussia Mall, like you are going to be stuck. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. It's always an issue. So it's that. Another one that's bothered me more recent than not is the actually like the kiosks down in the subway. So you've got more
Yeah.
recent than not, they implemented these SEPTA keys,
I
so they
like the
got rid of the
keys.
tokens. I like them too. I like when they work though. That's the thing. So
Oh
I
yeah,
have a
you have that janky key. I remember from when we were trying to go to the Sixers game.
I have a key. There's like it was perfectly fine, nothing wrong with it. I just decided I had some stuff go on, and so I was strictly using Apple Pay for a while, and I just wanted to throw more money onto the card. And it doesn't matter. I've got two credit cards and a debit card, right? And they're all three of them are different. Like it's not all the same bank or anything.
Hmm.
So I tried each of those to throw money on this thing, and all of them came back and said, "Try your like you got to contact your bank. Got to
Oh,
like like there is nothing wrong. I know that there's nothing wrong, but it doesn't matter what kiosk I go to. I just have to just buy a 1 day pass. It's like the biggest
that's
frustration I
brutal.
have right now.
Damn,
That's
that
brutal.
that stinks. God, there's nothing like being in New York like on a Monday morning and you got to reload your Metro
Oh,
card.
I'd rather jump
That
in front of a moving train.
oh
And then
God, that's
you have to
bad.
wait on one of those lines, and then one of the Metro card things has like the caution tape over it, like someone just died.
Oh, dude, stop! I'm getting
Yeah.
like PTSD. Don't even talk about that.
Was
And I
that
know
your
too.
veggie cheesesteak by him?
No, I have two.
Oh, what you got?
One is I don't know. You might be able to help me out. You or Dave. What's that bridge? Because I've only been to Philly a handful of times as well. Um, but what's that bridge where it's just a shit ton of homeless people just congregating under it with like tarps and just it's like a sea of homeless
It's in the
people.
middle of the city, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
And I
It's
yeah.
remember always driving
it's
by it,
convention
It's
and I'm like,
11th and
center.
Arch. It's like
this
11th
is
and Arch or
just
12th and Arch. You know, it's right by
yeah. That sounds
Reading
familiar.
Terminal.
It's
Yes.
underneath. It's the underpass of the convention center. I know exactly what you're
It
talking
just
about.
doesn't seem very doesn't seem very safe or sanitary there. It's kind of obviously I
I
don't
had
want
the
to sound
same.
insensitive, but it's kind of an eyesore. Hey, Tony.
Dude, I had one this whole time, and it was the fact that the convention center is 3
Yes.
blocks long, and the entire area smells like piss.
I run by there sometimes in the morning. It's
Oh, Disney
sketchy.
loves it. Disney loves
No,
that
I do
smell.
not. I've stopped going that way. Sometimes I hear them talking and it's not good. Oh, Tony,
Thanks,
you were at
Tony.
hijinks.
Exactly, yeah, it's the only time I go. And like
Dude.
the line wraps around the whole thing, so I get to experience the whole convention center from the outside. Piss, just everywhere.
So maybe that's why. There's too many homeless people. They're pissing everywhere.
Hey, it's like,
And then the second one was, I guess, less about Philly, but more like when I think of Philly, I think of taking the Amtrak train there. And my second one is the value proposition of the Amtrak Acela train doesn't make sense to me. Why would you pay another $200 to get there in 45 less minutes? Like, what is it?
You're rich.
Maybe you're worth
Company
$275 an hour.
That to me, like if you're traveling the Northeastern will take you 2 hours, and the Acela will take you, or 2.5, and the Acela will take you like 2 on the dot, and it's $200 more. Same track.
Time is money.
So, yeah, I guess that's what it boils down to, but it just doesn't make sense as an out of pocket traveler. Maybe if it's a business.
Like, do you take it
but
do you take the Acela through work?
when I was going to DC for business, yeah,
Exactly.
Damn, that must have been nice.
yeah, it was lit. I felt like a king.
They know people are paying for that through work.
Yeah,
True,
that's
true.
what it is. That's
Yeah,
what
I guess that's the only thing keeping the railroads
Yeah.
afloat.
Huh. I wonder what it is now.
But yeah, those are my two. I just never understood that. And when I think of Philly, I think of the Amtrak. That's usually how I'm getting in and out.
I mean, that's always how I'm coming up to New York. I can't wait for my office to open. I'm definitely gonna zip up and hang out for
zip up, zip up, throw down.
Yeah.
All right, should we go?
Hot takes, cold sandwiches.
Thanks, cold sandwiches. Hot plate.
Word.
Hot plate, cold sandwiches. We trying to
There
do a
you
hot
go.
plate on the for the Philly cheesesteaks. So this actually, I don't know how this didn't even come up before. Who's Temple's biggest rival? Like in terms of sports, do you
UConn.
Is
I
it
always remember Temple and UConn. Not lately.
So
Memphis.
I would say that in basketball, our biggest rival is absolutely Villanova. Any of the Big Five schools, like when we play St. Joe's, it's a big game. Anything at the Palestra, which is Penn's basketball arena, amongst those teams is generally a big game. In football, for us, Penn State, even though it's been a lopsided ordeal, has been probably our biggest arch nemesis. Rutgers is in there too. But as of late, like because we play them every year, I think people associate UConn a great deal. But that um, with them going independent, I don't know how much longer we'll continue to play them. But those would be the couple of schools on both sides.
Have you beaten Villanova in basketball?
Yeah, in 2012, I
Recently.
think we beat them.
2012.
Well,
That's
I beat Duke.
yeah, no, 2012
True.
might be the last year. I'd have to double check. We beat them by like 15 to 25 points. So the one off
I
year
was
that they were like,
I was gonna say I didn't want to be rude, but I feel like they've got this past decade probably in the rivalry.
yeah, no, they do. The interesting thing about it though is a couple things. One, people don't realize that Temple basketball is the fifth winningest program in college basketball history, behind pretty much like Duke, UNC, Kansas, and Kentucky. Number 5 all time is Temple.
Wow.
In Big Five history,
Huh.
Temple is actually the most successful in terms of head-to-heads. Temple, out of Temple, Villanova, LaSalle, St. Joe's, and Penn, Temple has won the most like round robin city series year to year. Villanova's number 2, and in head-to-head matchups, Villanova's probably only beaten Temple a total of 5 to 7 more times ever. So in head-to-head, Temple and Villanova are the closest out of those. As of late, you're totally right. We can't compete with losing 9 out of 10 in a decade and 2 national championships.
Yeah, I mean they've just got a their program is great. What's the coach's name of Villanova again? I always
Jay
Jay
Wright.
Wright.
I mean he just does a great job.
As John Rothstein says, Villanova, a Fortune 500 company, because
Yeah, they got a
they're
good
run
thing
so
going
well.
there.
Yeah.
What do you think he likes more, them or the
I
Wings?
support it, and I know it's not Temple, but like I'm happy to see a Philly team
That's
succeed.
true. That's
I
true.
would love. I would have you. His name, Harrison. Have you met my friend Mobe,
Yes.
who went to Villanova? Squaring him versus Dave off in a debate, Nova versus Temple, would be some of the best content we could ever put out. This kid is like a feral dog. If you try to argue anything with him,
Can you
that
call
would be great.
him right now?
I could call him.
We might have to hold that as a special.
No, I'd have to have him on a leash.
If you're all right
I'd
with
have to have him
that.
on a leash, otherwise he'd attack.
If you're all right with that,
Well,
Dave.
Well, people that know me know in good fun that I'm not fond. I'm not too fond of those guys over there.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
I would absolutely entertain any sort of. I won't call it a debate. I'll call it a dialogue or a discussion, and from there you see how it goes.
I
But
love it.
Here's one class.
There
I
we
don't know. I
go.
love the competitiveness. I love the competitiveness.
but I'll challenge. I have to interject and challenge what Hisney had said about supporting a fellow Philly team, because geographically
Ooh.
that's
They're
couldn't be further than the truth. Because
Yeah, I know.
it takes you if it takes you a half hour to get from the city of Philadelphia to that institution. I'm in Willow Grove at that point, guys. That's a
Yeah,
suburb.
St. David's
not
is really
Philadelphia.
not Philly proper.
It's
Do you root
it's
for
not
Lehigh?
really in Philadelphia.
Lehigh's Philly, right?
That's Bethlehem.
So you're an honorary Lehigh fan though, right? Lehigh over Lafayette at least, at the very least.
I've had yeah, I will say I've been to a Lehigh Lafayette basketball game too, at Lehigh, which was interesting. I would probably say I'm partial to Lehigh. It's treated me well,
Sir.
especially during our running career.
Yeah, true that. True that.
Moved up the
Definitely.
mountains to do some training.
Well, that's where we had our we had, what was it, like districts, and then like
Yeah,
indoor
leagues and
track meets.
districts and indoor.
Yeah,
Their
so,
indoor track's
yeah.
really nice now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I like Lehigh. I got nothing against them. I think that I have something Lehigh at my dad's house, like insignia, like sports something. So
If I find
there's some low key pride.
if I find a Lehigh visor, I got you. I'm sending
Ooh.
I will wear it and make it. If you can find a brown one, that would be kind of tough.
Dude, you see the banner? Bro,
Yeah.
Everything's brown there, dude.
No, I'll circumcise this hat and send it to you.
You know what? I've debated that on some cool looking hats, but I don't think it ultimately works out that
You would
clean.
need the right.
I'm gonna try it on a crappy hat.
You would need the right tools. You might need like a
Right.
sewing machine to hem up that edge. Otherwise, it would look bad.
Put a little cardboard in there.
It would get a little messy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But the idea of that is great. There's plenty of cool hats that I wish were
Yeah.
advisors for.
Well, hey, Dave, thanks for joining us, man. This was awesome. Obviously, good seeing you. Harrison, Byam.
I just love you can see in the background the sun just has been setting.
I said on this podcast just the same way the sun's setting on Dave over there. It's the perfect analogy.
Poetic justice, Gerson.
Yeah,
I've definitely been cognizant of that. I appreciate you guys giving me some time to join you. It's all in good fun. Hisney's always been a good guy to me. I'm happy to help.
Wait, I have to ask one more thing. What's your favorite Hisneyism?
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Something
So
Hisney says that like no one else says.
Okay, there's
Like,
two of them. One, so one. He knows exactly where I'm going with it too, because we just had a discussion over it, like one of the last times we hung out. So he's got the lesser of the two is the phrase "build in." He used to say that all the time in high school, like essentially meaning like to work yourself into something. Like I'm going to build into this conversation, or I'm going to build into that. Like he was a big building.
What a
guy,
squid!
I build empires, dude.
Yeah, but number one, and there will never, in my opinion, there will never be anything that equates to it. Is easily this infatuation with the word chungus. Like,
oh my god!
Like I've tried. He's explained it to me. He showed me the video for the longest time. I had.
Oh, you saw the video?
I don't even.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
he showed me.
Yeah.
But I didn't. But I'm saying I only saw this video maybe a month ago. So
Sure.
prior to that, I've heard this word for 9 or 10 years that I didn't even know it was a word. So I just thought it was his version of like John in the city. Like a universal noun. Because he calls people chungus, he describes things as chungus. Like I almost think that chungus he somehow could turn that into a verb. So that's his word. That he should probably change his middle name.
Yeah.
You trademark that.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That is a good
Yeah.
one.
No, that was great. I was thinking of that too when I thought of this topic. I was like, it's between chungus and legend. But like
I was gonna say legend.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I've literally been saying there's like a group of 10 of us that have been saying legend for ever.
People are gonna listen
legend
to this
goes.
and be like, "What's legend?" Like everyone says legend. Like they're not gonna. It's just a way. It's got to come naturally. It'll come out in a podcast soon. Legend.
His name's been
exactly what you're
actually.
saying.
This is actually Inception. His name's been planting that seed into everyone's mind for the last 9 years, just to be recognized for it in this moment.
There you go. All right, Dave.
Perfect timing.
Dave, thank you so much again for joining us. This was fun.
Yeah, it's always nice to reach out and talk to people, except for the same 5-6 people I talk to every goddamn day. So appreciate it.
Well, I'm happy. Like I said, I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm happy I assisted in that regard. And you've got a fan going forward. I really applaud what you guys are doing. And I'm excited to see what's ahead for you.
Cool. Awesome, Dave. Good seeing you, man. I'll catch up with you this weekend, all right?
Cool. All right, guys.
Thanks again,
Talk
man.
to you soon.
Take it easy.
Take care. See you guys.
All right. Cut it up.
Damn, what am I gonna...
So we talked to Tom Moore then at Indianapolis, the offensive coordinator. You're going to bust it. Play here. And Sanchez gets hit. The ball is loose and it's alive.
I've never seen this before in my life. Watch this. Vince Wilfork is going to throw Brandon Moore back into his quarterback. He's going to fumble the football.